Hi guys, so on this video I'll be showing you how to draft the pattern for this high-low flare shorts. So for this video you're going to need your pattern paper, your curved ruler, a protractor, long ruler, marker pens, scissors, and your tape measure. I'm going to define some terms before we start and how to get different measurements. So the circumference is the distance around a circle and the radius is the distance from the center of the circle. So if your body was to be dissected in half horizontally across the waist, you'll realize that your waist is somewhat circular. So the circumference of your waist is your waist measurement, and we need to find the radius that gives us that circumference. So my circumference is 38 just because I'm going to add 2-inch pleats all around the shorts. So you can use whatever your waist measurement is or add some allowance for pleats. To get the radius, just replace area that has the letter C with the waist circumference that you're going to use. And everywhere that there's the symbol pi, replace it with 3.14 and then do the division and the multiplication and you will get your radius. Mine was 6.05, but I rounded it up to 6. So I'll use a radius of 6. I have my piece of paper here and I'm going to draw a line 5 inches from the top and 5 inches from the side. The space we've left at the top and on the side will be useful as we go on with the pattern. So with that, I'm going to mark the radius using this as the pivot point. I'm going to mark 6 inches all round. And I'm going to join this curve. The next step is finding the crotch depth. Now the crotch depth is the distance from your waist down to your crotch, and this differs from high-waisted to low-waisted pants. For this, it's a high-waisted short, so I'm going to measure from where the waist will sit down to the crotch. But mine was 10.5, and that's going to be my crotch depth. Now, after marking my crotch depth, I'm going to go outwards by 3 inches for the crotch extension at the front, and that's why I left this space on the side. I'm going to join these 2 points. Now at a 45-degree angle from where these 2 lines meet, I'm going to draw another line. And this will help me draw that curve at the crotch area. So at this line here at the 45-degree angle, I'm going to mark 1 inch. So this is the curve point, so that the curve won't go too low or it won't go too high. Sketch my curve. Now this is going to be my crotch curve and extension. So the next step is marking the length of the shorts. Mine is 11.5, so you can either come from the waist that you created and mark 11.5 and go along all the way. But if your curve is uneven, it will also create an uneven hem. So you can use this pivot point that we had and add that radius. Mine was 6, so I can add the 6 plus the 11.5 of the length of the shorts, and I'll get 17.5, and I can use 17.5 all the way, and this will give me a more accurate hem. So the next step is creating the rise that is usually on the side of the waist when you're drafting trousers or shorts. So I'm going to come to this line at the top. From this point that we had where the curve is, I'm going to mark 1 inch, and that's going to be our rise. After marking my 1 inch, at this point, I'll come from the center front and I'm going to mark 4.5 inches. That is where we normally put darts in trousers. So I'm going to mark 4.5 inches. And from this point, I'm going to join the waist to this mark we made here, the 1 inch rise, and that's going to be our new waistline. So I'm going to take my curved ruler and I'm going to join this 4.5 point here. So now that we have our new waistline, we're going to cancel this line so that it doesn't confuse. Now, having changed this waistline, we have to remeasure this just to ensure that it's going to give us the same measurement that the original waistline gave us. Now the original one was 9.5, so we're going to measure this and ensure this is 9.5, and if it's not 9.5, we'll have to adjust it to ensure that it's 9.5. So mine came in at 9 inches. So I'm going to add 0.5 inches and I will extend that curve up by 0.5 inches. Now that the waistline is done, it's time to finish off the side seam. And I'm going to join this waistline to this point. So the next step is adding the zipper ply, and since you can decide whether you want the zipper at the front or at the side, I wanted mine to be at the front, so I'm just gonna add a zipper ply at the front. Now that we have our front pattern complete, I'm going to show you ways that you can alter this flare, measuring from the crotch all the way to where my flare ends. Mine is approximately 33 inches flared. Now, if you want your shorts to be flared but not too bulky of a flare, you can decide how many inches of it you want flared. And if you want it flared maybe 25 inches, you'll come measure it from the crotch, get your 25 inches and mark the 25 inches. And then you'll take your long ruler, and from the waist point that you got, you're going to mark to join the 2 points. Now you're going to have a flare short, but it's going to be 25 inches flared. And you can do the same even if you want 40 inches flared, just mark 40 inches at the bottom curve and you'll get your 40 inches and join it to the waistline that you got. So that will help you if you want a more voluminous flare, and if you want a very subtle flare, you can just go in as many inches as you want and decide how big you want your flare to be or how small you want your flare to be. So I'm just going to add the same allowance all around, and then I'm going to cut out the pattern. Now for the back pattern, it's also similar to the front, but with some few adjustments. So your pattern paper, mark 5 inches from the top and from the side. Using this point as the pivot point, you're going to get our 6 inches radius that we measured at the beginning. Then from this point, we're going to get the crotch depth. I'm going to mark 10.5 crotch depth, and from this point I'm going to mark 4 inches away. The crotch extension for the back is 4 inches just because we are going to accommodate the butt. At this point of intersection, I'm going to mark a 45-degree angle again. So at this 45-degree angle line, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches. And at this 1.5 inches is where the curve will hit. This is the curve point. We're going to measure the length of the back of the short. Now, because it's a high-low short, the front is high and it was 11.5 and the back is going to be low. I'm going to add 2 inches to the 11.5 and we're going to have 13.5. So the length of the shorts at the back will be 13.5. So if you don't want yours to be high-low, you can just put the same measurements as the front. I'm measuring from the pivot point. So I'm going to add the radius of 6 plus the 13.5 length of the shorts. We're going to get 19.5 and I'm going to use 19.5 all around. We're going to move on to the waist. Just because you're accommodating the butt, we are also going to raise the center back by 1.5 inches. So you'll mark your 1.5 inches from this point. And just like the front of the pattern, we're going to also raise the side seam and you're going to raise it by 1 inch, just like the front. And these are the points where we'll create our new waistline. So from this point, our original waistline, I'm going to measure 4.5 inches. This is where I usually put my dart. So at this 4.5, I'm going to create a curve to join here and a curve to join here. Now this curve that we have created is going to be our new waistline. Cancel this one so that it doesn't confuse anyone. This is the new waistline. Now we're going to measure it again just like the front. This is supposed to give us 9.5, just like the original waistline. And if it's not 9.5, we're going to extend it upwards until it gives us 9.5. It's at 9 inches. So I'm going to add the 0.5 inches at the top. And I'm going to extend this curve to that point. Now going to join the waist point to the hem at the bottom. And remember, you decide how bulky you want your flare to be. So because I want mine to be flared up to this point, I'm just going to join these 2 points. Okay, to this point we are done with the back pattern. If your back pattern was the same length as the front, you could just add the same allowance all around and cut it out and you'll be done. But since mine is a high-low short, I need to make adjustments where the front will be sewed together with the back, so at the crotch and also the side. The thing I'm going to do is going to measure this without the same allowance. I'm going to measure this part of the front. Mine was 1 inch. Now from the crotch, I'm going to measure that 1 inch and I'm going to mark it. And then from this point, slowly just join it to the curve. And then this part is going to be relevant. This part is going to be joined to this part of the front. I'm also going to make the same adjustment at the side without the same allowance. our side was 12.5 inches. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to mark the 12.5 inches. That's our 12.5 inches. Join this part to the curve. And this now is irrelevant and we're not going to use this. I'm going to add the seam allowance. When I join the side of the front with the side of the back, they're going to be the same length. And also if I join the back and the front around the area at the crotch, they're also going to be the same length. So these are the patterns for the flare short. This is the front and the back, and I've labeled them so that I can always remember what I did for this pattern. And if you have any questions, just leave them down below in the comment box and I'll answer all the questions that you have.